Slouching. No slouching. Black. Gross. Girl, I look good today. I look good. Why do I look like a linebacker? Jesus. Jesus, Lee, get it together. I don't have much coffee left. How am I supposed to get through this? Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hope everybody had a good 2 weeks since they saw me last. I know I've been scrambling, just the way that I am. Today we're going to be talking about an indie author review that I'm going to do. The book is written by a friend on Twitter. Her name is Natalie Summers. And she wrote this book called Drunk and Disorderly. So I'll put an actual like bigger picture of the cover. Drunk and Disorderly, Revenge Can Be a Trip by Natalie Summers. That is what we're reviewing today. Yeah, a little scatterbrained, pretty early in the morning, so. The book is 199 pages. It is a space western. The description of the book on Amazon, which is where you can find it. No one told me I had to read. Okay, we get flashbacks of high school. The description for the book is, not all scars are visible. Zara Lynn has plenty from battles she survived, but after the war, the elf had planned to drink her pain away in a dust backworld bar where she would be forgotten. With only a friend, a man she calls Uncle, she carries on day after day for 6 years, and then it all went into the vacuum of space when a gang of bandits holds up Zara Lynn's watering hole. They kill Uncle. Bent on revenge, Zara Lynn puts together a crew to hunt down the murders and avenge her only friend's death with the help of a treacherous dwarf, an abashed, sexy wood elf, creepy old gnome, a posh orc, and an ignorant human doctor. Zara Lynn chases the scum across the galaxy, but is she really hunting them, or are they toying with her? So basically the story is about this elf named Zara Lynn who escapes the war against the centralized union of stars to this back planet, which reminds me of Tatooine from Star Wars. It's a desert planet, but it's more Western themed, with like a saloon and stuff. The saloon she stays in is called the Siren Song, and she befriends a man named Uncle. And they drink. They don't really talk about their past or anything like that. And they do this for like years. And then one day, Uncle gets a message from his son, who Zara Lynn didn't even know he had, and he's gonna be leaving, which, you know, she didn't realize the connection they had until this moment. And as they go to Cheers, the saloon is robbed, Uncle is shot and killed, which makes me really sad because I really liked Uncle. Even you only meet him and have an exchange with him in this for a short time, but I really liked him. I imagine Uncle as Sam Elliott. I don't know if you know who that actor is. He was in NCIS and he was in a commercial that was really popular last year, but he reminded me of Sam Elliott, and I think that's what I held on to and why I actually like, because you only get a brief moment with him in this story that actually carries through to the whole book. But like, I see him as Sam Elliott and I love that actor, so I think that's why I was like, oh my god, Uncle, he's like my favorite character, which he basically is one of my favorite characters. Just by that brief, like, and it's so interesting to have an impact from a character that you only see so briefly, which I liked. But after this happens, Zara Lynn decides to seek revenge, and the barkeep, Millie, she is willing to pay for them to revenge his death because Millie, liked Uncle. Everybody did. more or less. And so she decides to grab up a group of people together, which really reminds me, the group that ends up coming together reminds me of like a D&D campaign group, because everybody's so unique in their own way. It's like people that you would have never expected to come together. And so the first person that you come into contact with that's in her group is Carter. He is she calls him an arrogant doctor. He is I put a proper chap with money and a ship. He's annoyingly proper. He's also a doctor. I didn't care for him. Like, he wasn't really my favorite character until there's a moment that he spends with a different character named Ellen or Ellen. That like changed my perspective on him. He seems arrogant and stuff, but I really like him. Like, he's one of my favorite characters. So you meet him, and obviously Zara and him are very different people, so they don't get along at all. And then you meet Flake, who's this girl that Z had saved a while back, and she works in a saloon on the same planet, and in like a different town. And so she is a very flirtatious person, very pretty. And then there's Clemens, who is basically a mob boss, who she wants help with because of his connections that he has. And this guy, I don't know if I'm going to say it right. His name is Tarnok. Sorry. Tarnok? I'm going to say Tarnok. He's a dwarf sharpshooter that betrayed Z in the war and sold information, and she hates him, but she decides to work with him because she wants to work with Clemens. So he comes, and then the last person they pick up is Spolt, who I like because he's an orc. I just love orcs. I play an orc in D&D, so he's an orc who is second command for Z, and he is very loyal, and I really like that about him too. He's just loyal, and he tries to help Z even when she doesn't want it, and that's loyalty is good to have. And then there's another girl that you kind of get a different perspective with. There's a few spot chapters in the book from her perspective, even though everything's in third person. Her name is Aline, or Ellen, and she is a Medusa, basically. She's a Gorgon, but she has snakes on her head and turns people to stone with her eyes. But she's very sweet, or at least from what you encounter throughout the book. So they go on this adventure, and I don't want to spoil too much for you guys, but so they go on this adventure, and there's a few stops along the way. There's a lot of bad luck that this group gets into, which I was surprised, because which is nice and unique and refreshing, because a lot of times, everything just goes right for everybody in like a book. Like, oh, if they're gonna ambush somebody, it usually works, but like people get bloody, whatever. This, it's like, no, it definitely did not work for them. They get their butts handed to them a lot. So I kind of like that, because it's like the underdog type thing. Yeah, like I said, it's all in third person. Zara Lynn also has voices in her head that are people that she was responsible for during the war that died. And that's an interesting thing too. You see a lot of really cool modern things in this book that you don't see in many other books, which is like mental health, alcoholism, like raw alcoholism. You see transgender aspects. You see asexual. Flake, she's very like, she basically has sex with everybody. It's all very refreshing, because it's like something that you really don't see often in books. There's a few other characters that I didn't name, but you'll just have to find out yourself if you decide to read it. And overall, it's a good book. it's something that I would have never read on my own, so I'm happy that I took the chance and the time to read it. Natalie is a great person, just super kind, and I enjoyed making this connection with her because I've never met her before. So reading her book, having this moment as if we're like having a connection was really nice. The only issues I had with the book was there's a few parts where words are used in like nicknames and stuff that I don't really understand but are never explained, which is fine. It happens in books all the time. As I went on, I started to slowly understand what certain things were. Also, I'm a big romance person, and there's not very much romance in this book at all. There's like hints of it, maybe, but there's not really any romance. So if that's what you're looking for, this probably wouldn't be the best book for you. Something else is that I wish there was a little bit more action. There is definitely a lot of interesting stuff that goes on. I'm more of a guns blazing, war, everybody's dying type person, like impending doom. I'm definitely impending doom, world's gonna end type person. So it would have been cool if there was a little bit more firefight in there. And after reading the book, I contacted Natalie and I asked her what inspired her. To do a space western. One of her friends wrote a book of Vikings in space, basically, which I would be interested in because I love Vikings. But that inspired her to do Western because she likes Firefly. Overall, it was good. I'm really glad that I got to read a friend of mine's book. So I have a few other books that I plan on reading. So as I finish that book, I'm eager to read another indie author type book. I figured I'd go through a few of those titles just to kind of give you an insight into books I'm probably going to be reviewing in the future. First one is called Awakening Shadows. I'll post a picture somehow. I'll figure it out. A little bit of the description. It says, a princess, a warrior, a slave, kingdom falling to ruin, a queen meant to save them all. Navari. Ooh. Get it together. Navari has been at peace for 300 years, and prophecies of promised princess no more than a whisper memory of the past, sheltered from the world around her. Naive princess Jocelyn, oh my god. Jocelyn is no stranger to the responsibility and isolation of being heir, and when an attack on her 18th birthday reveals a looming return of the legacy demon king, shattering every protective boundary around her, Jocelyn is thrown full force into a long-forgotten prophecy and the roles she plays in the demise. And then it goes on. But, so that looks super interesting to me. It's by Sydney Hawthorne. It is an indie author book, or at least when I looked it up, it said it was an indie author book. So there is one called The Diseased Ones, which is dystopian kind of. Life is easy in 2647 unless you're a diseased one. On the morning of her 16th birthday, Hollis Tomwire receives the worst possible news. She can't become a citizen of the world. She's a diseased one, born with a biomarker that oh my god. This is why they don't let me read in school. We're gonna try that again. Born with a biomarker that bestows dangerous brain-altering powers, Hollis is forced to hide underground with other diseased ones and believes the government falsifies history to cover up their genocide. So that sounds interesting. A few others is Pawn. It's an epic fantasy. Fate's Fables, which is, I think, is really cool. It's by T. Ray Mitchell, and it's basically a best-selling author who falls into a story basically, or at least that's the generalized look of it. Beyond the Line of Trees is another one that's very similar to Fate's Fables. The Maiden Ship, The Storyteller's Daughter. I have so many books on my to-be-read list. It's about to bust. I have Goodreads list. I have actual books. I have probably like 14 to-be-read books in person, and then I probably have like 30 in my to be read for Goodreads app. And then my Amazon wish list for books is busted. So that is all I have today for you guys. Thank you for tagging along and listening to me ramble and stutter. And yeah, the next week after that, 2 weeks from now, my next review is probably not going to be a book per se, but more of I'm going to do something a little different. Maybe do a book tour or a list of my favorite covers, something like that. Kind of give myself a break with all of this going on. Marketing and publishing platforms and all that stuff. I'm struggling right now to try to get through all that stuff, but I'm doing okay. So I just need to slow it down and organize a little bit more, because Star Wars again. You know how they went down the garbage chute and then the walls are closing in? Yeah.
I got a bad feeling about this.
3PO! Come in, 3PO! 3PO!
That, where they're sitting in the garbage, that's what my brain looks like. I hope you guys enjoyed, and again, like I said, it's called Drunk and Disorderly by Natalie Summers. If you're interested in a new indie author, the link will be below. If you enjoyed this a little bit, and if you're interested in more indie authors, like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell, so then you'll be notified every time I make a new video. And if you have any interest in indie authors or any of the books that I mentioned, let me know and I can send you a link. If you have an indie author or a book that you think is amazing that you want me to read, definitely leave it in the comments, or you can find me on basically any major platform: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here. And just contact me, let me know, and I will be sure to add it to my to be read list. And maybe you'll see a review on here about it and we can fangirl about it together. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.